Hey, good morning, everybody. It is Robert Phoenix. What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? What's going on out there? We are broadcasting to you live right now from Fredericksburg, Texas. Let me jump in on the show here on the YouTube side of things. We got 5 people watching now. What's going on? Got to say a little morning shout out over here on the YouTube side. Morning. What's happening, everybody? There we go. The energetic trail. I'm so excited. The time for live perfectly. Right on. Nice to see you, Valerie. There's Isla. What's going on, Isla? Let me plug in my power source here. Got to stay connected to your power source when you're doing these things. Just see 1 second here. Good. All right. Here we go. There's Joan. Hey, Charles, what's happening? Great show last night. Common Sense Smart Guy. Wiener, love Wiener, Common Sense Smart Guy. What else we have? There's Jenny. Hi, Jenny. There's Ian. Hello. There's Liz. What's going on? Earthquake down here in Bali today. Should I do my Ring of Fire? There's Paulette. Hey, good morning. Good morning, Paulette. Okay, so what's happening out there? I think we got enough for a quorum. We have enough for a quorum, a super quorum, in today's show. So we got the eclipse happening. The eclipse energies are on. I certainly felt them yesterday. I had an eclipse moment yesterday. It was all there, man. It was all totally there. I got caught in the crossfire. It was almost like the chart itself, with the separation between Capricorn and Cancer was being played out, and I was kind of stuck in the middle. It was really very interesting. Okay. So I'll tell you the story. You know, I've been going to the gym, and I've been liking the gym a lot. It's been really good for me. It gets me out of my apartment. It's been really good for my health, and I've been able to actually kind of reshape my body a bit, which has been a good thing, at least for me. So I've been trying to change things up a little bit. Yesterday, I didn't have a show because I wanted to take Monday off, which I think I'm going to do from here on out, just so I can stay kind of fresh. Because there are times on Sunday nights where there's a lot of output, and then to flip it around on Monday, because sometimes I'm just not fully energized and juiced, and I feel like I'm cheating you guys with the content, and I'm not fully there as much as I can be, so I'm cheating myself too. So I'm going to try this out for a few weeks and not do the Mondays for a few weeks to see how that works, see how that unfolds, plays out. So yesterday I decided to I've been on this gym thing, so I decided to go to the gym in the morning. And the last time I went to the gym in the morning, it was around 6 in the morning, 6:30 or so, I think, right around then. Nobody was there. And I was like, wow, this is great, man. I love this. Nobody's here except for the seniors doing yoga or whatever the seniors do. A lot of them. And it's not a big fancy mega gym. It's a local community gym. It's actually run by the hospital here in town. Pretty good price. Not you can quit anytime. So yesterday I think, okay, let me go during the morning. Let me get my workout in. Let me get cooking with my day. So I go, and the place, I got there at about 8:30. The place was packed. I'm like, what is going on here? It's like, apparently after 8 o'clock, the gym fills up. And what's happened is that they have, it's a fairly, it's not huge, it's not really small, but it's not big either. And so they've gotten to this point now where they are exceeding the capacity for their attendees for this gym. And it's gotten so kind of tight now that they have little stickers on all the cardio machines that say you can only use it for 20 minutes. That doesn't bother me. But yesterday the energy was really off, very off. So I do my cardio. Let me go work on my my legs. So I go into the weight room, and there's this exercise class going on in the weight room. It's like, what are they doing here? Why can't they have this in some other part of the gym or something? Because they got the bands and all this stuff, and I'm like, okay, so I'll try to get my stuff done here, but they're blasting music and they're kind of around the equipment. I'm like, this is not a good fit. So I go to this other room, and then there are people on the equipment. I'm like, maybe I should just go. Maybe I should just leave. But then one guy gets off the equipment. It's one of these moments where reality kind of spins on a moment. So I decide to stay. And I get on this piece of equipment, I do my thing, right? I do my other thing with some other stuff. Like, okay, so I think I can leave now. I think I can go and maybe do some squats. Get out of here. But the last time I checked, that weight room was filled to the brim with these people who were, here's Jasper. These people were doing this kind of, I don't know, bands and balls and that kind of thing. So I'm like, there's another room that has a squat rack. So I go into that room, and there's this squat. It's a squat rack, but it's kind of in bench press mode, but it's up high. I'm trying to figure this thing out. What's going on here? And right next to it, there's this gal who's wearing like a spandex thing from the 80s, and about 5 foot, maybe 4, and in a squat position, back against the wall. Weight plate on her thighs, so she's doing some pressure thing against the wall. I'm like, well, nobody's using the squat rack, so I'm just going to go in and do this, and I try to be a thoughtful person, right? I try to be thoughtful, and as I'm doing this, I'm like, well, maybe she's using this. I don't know. So I asked her, so are you using this? She goes, yeah, I am. I said, oh, okay. Well, would you mind if I worked in? I just wanted to. Get a set of squats or two in. Could I work in with you? And every time I've done that with anybody at the gym, they've all said yes. And it's not like I'm trying to, dive in or dive crash or party crash their set party. Okay, it's not like I'm going to go in and be disruptive and mess with people's sets. I just wanted to go in and do the same. Maybe figure, because she's like doing her little back against the wall, squatty, platey thing. And she says, yes, I do mind. I'm like, where are you? And she was just coming off like, like a biatch, right? I mean, I said, look, I don't get this. I was like, you're not using this. You're doing something else. She said, I know, but I'm doing both. I said, you know what? That's one of my pet peeves. I said, people will take 3 pieces of equipment at a time and go back and forth. I don't dig that. It's like, use your thing, let somebody else use it. It's not your personal gym. So we got into it, and then she said, I'm a long-time member here. And I said, yeah, I'm a long-time member too, but I was away from her, right? So I was maybe about 15 feet, so I had to project my voice. And I said, I'm a long-time member here too, and we're going to let the staff figure this out. Because I was feeling, here's what happens. You start to do this stuff, and blood, the heart rate goes up, and it's like, she was just being she's a nasty little person, right? So I go up to the front desk, and I say, hey, what's the story with the weights? Can people use more than one piece of equipment at a time? Someone says no. I said, well, I've got a problem back here. Can you just work this out? And I normally don't do that. I try to just but it was like, you know what? I'm gonna call in the people who I actually pay to go and do this thing with. So she comes over and she starts talking, and this woman makes a big deal out of me raising my voice. It's not the fact that she actually has 2 pieces of equipment that she's using. She changes the argument and says I raised my voice. And I'm like, I may have raised my voice because I was across the hall and have been working out. So, we're kind of at this standoff. And all of a sudden, this cop walks in. He's one of these, he has to put steroids in his cornflakes in the morning. This guy's enormous. And he's standing there watching, we're talking, and he says to me, sir, you need to separate yourself from her. I'm like, what's going on here? Where did you come from? Right? So now, okay, here comes the eclipse part. We have the moon, which is the woman, right? This is the woman, feminine energy. And then we have the cop, who is Saturn. So we have the true node and the south node. There they were, right there. I was in the polarity. Just like I was talking about on the Sunday night show. I was in the polarity of the moon and the true node and the south node and Saturn and Pluto. Right? The man, and then, well, he quotes, and then the woman. And I'm like, I got to get out of here. Anytime a freaking cop comes in, sir, you need to separate yourself from her. I wasn't even doing anything. I was like, you got to be kidding me. So then I come to find out that the cop was not called there. He was on his way back to the swimming pool to go get his swim on. So it wasn't even an on-duty cop at that point. But he sure as hell felt like he needed to be a cop. You know, it's like... Ugh. So I left. And then I decided that I don't want to be a part of that gym anymore. It's just bullshit. Total bullshit. So I'm off doing something else. It was like, okay, I'm gonna pivot. I'm gonna get into some different form of exercise. I was getting bored with that gym anyway. You know what I mean? Just getting bored. So the eclipse energies are definitely on, because I felt them. I felt them yesterday, and then I spent yesterday doing mostly a lot of Clean Water Fredericksburg, or Clean Water Fred work. You know, we're still in the midst of that. I put some videos up over on Vimeo, and I put some videos up over on Facebook on some of our latest activity. So I don't know how you guys are feeling about the eclipse energies, but you should theoretically check it out or check in with what's happening on an internal level. I slept great last night. I had a wonderful, wonderful sleep. It was fantastic. I woke up rested. I had great dreams. So I'm cool with everything. Cool with where, kind of where the energies are. But yesterday, I got to tell you, I was in that eclipse crossfire. Total eclipse crossfire. Let me see where you guys are with the energy stuff. Let me see where you're checking in. She was on her rags, Robert. Oh, that's funny. Maybe she was gassy, didn't want anyone around. And I tell them not to dictate my It's okay, man. It is okay. I've been kicked out of Planet Fitness before. Why does that not surprise me, Michael? Why does that not surprise me? That is so funny. Pretty sure I've seen that copy you're talking about. What a weird lady. I know, man. It's like totally. In Planet Fitness, it's easy to get kicked out of Planet Fitness. Did I get tased? I was probably about that close to being tased. I was very close to being tased. It was really, it was like, I mean, I wasn't even doing anything, you know? I wasn't even doing anything. And everybody just submits to, a big fuck in a uniform because you know, it can get heavy. And I know it can get heavy. But it's like, I'm not asking the people from the gym to do anything, but the woman could have said, it's okay. We can take care of this. We could take care of this, go back and go splash around in the pool. Shamu. I'm sorry. We got this, Shamu. So, anyway, it's on, man. These eclipse energies on. I used to go to Planet Fitness. I hated that. I kind of hated it, to be honest. I went there because it was close to my house and it was cheap. But it's such a weird vibe at Planet Fitness. Very weird vibe. I always felt like Planet Fitness was kind of like mind control. You can't grunt. You can't look at anybody. This is not that kind of gym. It's a purple and gold gym. And we don't care if you're flabby and out of shape and haven't had a shower in 4 days or 5 days or a week. Come on in. We promise nobody will judge you here. It's a judgment-free zone. I'm sorry. It's like, whatever. A gym is a gym. Come on. It's a gym. People work out. They get their heart rate up. That's what happens in gyms. Sometimes they go, ooh. It's part of being physical. Anyway. All right, so we are on the eclipse energies here. Yeah, we're right on it. Somebody asked me a question. I think it was Coniferous Forest. It was like, if you're born on the 17th, are you going to feel the eclipse? So, my experience with eclipses, both personally and with other people, is that sometimes you will really feel an eclipse, and other times you won't, or at least not immediately. That's my experience. And a case study that I have that I like to quote is this client of mine who has a 28-degree Leo rising. And when the Great American Eclipse happened, it happened right on her ascendant, and she was right on the eclipse line, or pretty much very, very close to it. And I asked her, just when we first started working together, well, what happened to you around this eclipse? Did you feel anything? It was just a query. I said, no, I didn't feel anything. It was just another day. I thought, well, that's really interesting, because if somebody was going to feel that darn eclipse, that was going to be this woman, right? Because right there, she's got the same ascendant as Donald Trump. So it's like, yeah, sometimes eclipse energies don't affect people. And she sort of, and kind of the takeaway that I got is she sort of has lived her life in a very eclipse fashion. This is a person who went through kind of a major life change, had to go through recovery, became very, very involved in addiction and working with people in the addiction community and all kinds of stuff. So it changed her life in a good way. So maybe she'd already had her major life eclipse moment. I it's a way to rationalize it in some ways. But then I've also seen eclipse energies really take place and really hit. And like yesterday, I mean, that was it. That was it. I was in that crossfire, the true node and the south node. It was happening. It was on. It was really on. And so anyway, I was getting tired of the gym. But you know what I'm going to do today? Because I feel kind of bad. Not that I did anything wrong or anything, but this is like the Libra of me. I'm going to go in and just, apologize for kind of the conflict with yesterday with the people. Because they're really nice people. They're really super nice people. And I don't want the gym people to feel crappy about what happened. But I'm just going to tell them. Anyway. All right, so let's move on to, of course, the topic of the day. It is Jeffrey Epstein, and it will be Jeffrey Epstein for a while now. And I've been, sort of rooting around some of the Epstein stuff. And one of the key people that you want to pin, and I'm sure a lot of you guys who are already switched on, one of the key people you want to pin at the top of the page is Rachel Chandler. And Rachel Chandler became Epstein's version of Allison Mack, and would go out and procure other young women. Now, the thing with Epstein, which is very interesting, is the fact that Epstein was getting girls around 14, 15, 16 years of age. That was like one circle and one ring of the Epstein world. And then there were other kind of lower levels and lower rings, younger people, boys, and of course, the rumors are they were deeply involved in the adrenochrome racket, the adrenochrome game. So, but this Rachel Chandler is actually somebody to pin because she was the equivalent of Allison Mack. She went out and got girls. Now, what's interesting about these girls, a lot of people, there's two things going on here. One is that if you look at the mainstream media, they'll call the girls prostitutes. They'll call them prostitutes. So, but what they are is they're in this strange kind of, twilight age between 13, 14, 15, 16, up through 17, but not quite 18. So that they resemble, in some cases, young women. In some cases, they resemble girls. So the press, the mainstream press, is labeling them prostitutes because they don't want people to really truly wrap their heads around the fact that these are, underage underage women, underage girls, right? And that leads to other, deeper, darker corridors inside the Epstein operation. But the other thing too is that the girls, they weren't one-offs. They would come back and be a part of the Epstein experience again and again and again and again. Like there were girls who were multiple. There were girls who were there against their will. They didn't like it. Then there were other girls who were like, yeah, man, I throw down. I go to these parties and I get these old dudes off and I make a lot of money, right? So there's some of that going on there with these girls, and that this thing could. And I'm not blaming them, trust me, but you can't have this thing exist without kind of a core of participants that are complicit at some level, right? Because the other kind of outer participants, oh, this is terrible, this sucks, how did they get into this? It legitimizes kind of the whole thing. And there is kind of a weird level of perverse legitimacy that I think went on with this whole thing, because they were putting girls on planes and flying them out to California. It wasn't just at the island. And of course, Epstein's got a ranch in New Mexico as well, and there was stuff going on there. So it's a strange melange, because I think that the media is misrepresenting the fact that these were underage girls. That's number one. And number two, you have this group of girls, and some of whom are, like Rachel Chandler, very complicit, and at an early age, kind of like in and running this kind of power game. It's a very weird thing. Anyway, pin Rachel Chandler up at the top of your Epstein sort of bulletin board. The other thing that I was cruising around today, and I found out that Ghislaine Maxwell is a certified submarine pilot. She's got a submarine license, and there are these things called oceanic passports that are also involved, right? Because if you have an oceanic passport, apparently you can go anywhere. Like, you are a citizen of the world if you have an oceanic passport, which I've just discovered. I just found this out. So Ghislaine Maxwell was a submarine pilot, and apparently they were submarining these girls into the island. That they actually had a submarine port there. Man, this whole thing was totally blown out, right? And there's interesting connections now that are starting to come up between Elon Musk. Oh, yeah. Elon Musk, and who's a maker of submarines. That's what he does. He makes submersibles. And he also makes tunnel boring equipment. The thing that I've always found really weird about Elon Musk is supposedly he's got like 6 kids, but you never see him. And if you read his bio, they're all done by in vitro. It's like really weird. Lots of twins and stuff. It's like, what is up with that, man? Very strange. I've never been able to kind of fully wrap my head around it. You never see him with these kids. What's going on? And the whole thing about how they were procreated was like so 21st century. Anyway, just some more flotsam and jetsam coming at you from the Epstein thing. I wanted to play a video by Steve Pieczenik. Some of you might have seen this video. Steve Pieczenik, to me, I think is a very interesting character. I think he's somebody that people should take seriously, but also people should kind of question his motivation at times. Because this is a guy that's been on the inside. He's connected to what he calls, the alternate deep state. Is that like saying George Webb is connected to the old school Mossad? I mean, these people get into these. Well, yeah, I'm part of the system, but I'm part of the good system. And this is how Steve Pieczenik basically frames himself, and then legitimizes himself as well. And I don't think Steve Pieczenik is lacking in deep state credentials. I think he's been an inside player for quite a while now. So I'm going to play this video, and he gets into Epstein, and he gets into the Mossad, and he says some very, I think, interesting things. The things that he leaves out, though, is that he does leave out, he basically signs, or he makes a connection between Epstein and all these past presidents. but he leaves Trump out, and then he talks about sort of where Israel is, and I think he mentions Jared Kushner, but in a positive. And I'm not a big Kushner guy, so I got a real disconnect with a certain part of the video. It's the Kushner part of the video, but I think what he shares here is interesting, and I also think there's a kind of an important philosophical and moral question that he brings up here that I'll talk a little bit about. So let me play you the video. This is Steve Pachinik, and he's talking about Jeffrey Epstein, and he's talking about the roots of Epstein and who's really theoretically behind it. Okay, here we go.
Okay. Hi, this is Dr. Pachinik. I want to talk about the Epstein pedophilia ring. What it really is a Mossad Israeli operative ring, which goes back decades and decades, all the way to the time even where the Liberty ship was attacked by Israeli planes, unmarked Israeli planes, during the Six-Day War, and Israel said they didn't do it. Well, that was a lie. Israel has not been our greatest ally. It's been our greatest enemy. They were also involved in 9/11 and the Standout War, for which this deputy confirmed that to me. Israeli Mossad operatives were interrogated and threatened, confirmed that to me, and I put away 2 Mossad operatives. The key to this Epstein problem of pedophilia is the fact that it goes back decades. Jeff Epstein was picked out by the Mossad as the proper agent of influence because, number one, he was grandiose. 2, he had some intelligence but came from a poor Jewish background, had no real education, did not speak a foreign language, and was so narcissistic that they could manipulate him up and down and create a false front for him, which involved the fact that he had multi-million dollars or multi-billion dollars. He may have no money. It's not even relevant. But to make sure that Jeffrey Epstein was working properly, they had an operative from the Mossad who was Maxwell, the daughter of Robert Maxwell, one of the greatest crooks in the world, who was an Israeli Mossad operative. When he died in 1991, he was either killed or he died. He was one of the biggest contributors to Israeli national security of anybody else. So his daughter was the control operative of Jeff Epstein. At the same time, we had Nexium in New York City, which was run by a non-Jew named Renier, but controlled by 2 Jewish women, the Bronfman family. And they, in turn, were propagating pedophilia. Now, why is pedophilia so lethal? From an intelligence point of view, from my point of view, as an intelligence operative and a counterintelligence operative, one of the most disgusting things that you can do in the intelligence world is to double you up or co-opt you through the use of a honey trap, but not only an adult honey trap, but a child. When you use a child, you pretty much terrorize that child so that you know anybody who's gotten involved with pedophilia cannot speak out, the child can't say anything, and it's a legitimate way to denigrate both the operative and the problem itself, the children. Nevertheless, the Mossad incurred so many operatives that were involved with pedophilia under the Epstein ring and under the Nexium ring with the 2 Bronfman daughters, that you're talking about thousands of people. Now, it also goes all the way up into the presidency. It goes into the Bush family, Bush Jr., Jeb. It goes into Clinton's, as we know, Hillary, Bill Clinton, who's a pathological liar to the nth degree, to Obama, who had a history of homosexuality and pedophilia, all the way down to the Bushes and beyond that. So what the Israelis did under the tutelage of 2 brilliant Mossad chiefs, Halevi and Yatom, both of whom used pedophilia as a honey trap to encapsulate any one of our operatives in America. Jeff Epstein was a willing operative. He willingly was involved in pedophilia. The Israelis knew that. They created his storyline. They made believe he was a billionaire. Wexner was the theoretical backup man to him, and ironically, he was in Bear Stearns, which was another corrupt Jewish firm that went under, along with Drexel Burnham, another corrupt Jewish firm. So we have a lot of corruption here, which goes all the way back to 9/11, when we had Jews like Silverstein, who had the lease to the World Trade Center. We had Lowry, we had Lauder, and we had Eisenberg, all of whom were involved in the stand down and the false flag of 9/11. So from 9/11 on, Trump understood that the Israelis had been involved in our intelligence service and in compromising America. He never forgot that. And what he did blatantly was to turn around, and on a certain day, he decided he was going to indict every one of the Mossad operatives, as well as the Israelis, on charges of pedophilia. Not on charges of spying, because that wouldn't work. But Acosta, the Secretary of Labor, was correct when he said that Epstein got off of the prosecutor's indictment in Florida because he worked in the intelligence service. Now, it's not only the Mossad that's involved. Clearly, the CIA was involved. And it was the old CIA and not the present CIA. Why do I say that? Because the heroes of this picture is not only Trump and the White House, but it really involves what I consider to be my deep state, which is what I've talked about for 20 years, the people at the NSA, the NRO, the NGA, the CIA, the new CIA, and other intelligence organizations, which blew this operation apart over the past 10 to 20 years, because in their NSA sweep of our telephones, or the metadata as they called it, they had picked up Israeli compromises all over the United States and in the world. What we have now is a real problem with Israel. And Israel has been placed on notice because our ambassador, the Jewish ambassador there, as well as Kushner, have made a very clear statement. Israel, you're on notice. If you do not make a peace treaty with the Palestinians, there will be more serious repercussions than you imagine. The beginning of the takedown of your Mossad operatives, are all present, and we will put them in prison, is just the beginning of what we can do to the future of Israel. Now, as a Jew, I am not proud what American Jews have done. For the most part, I find them to be arrogant, ignorant, totally devoid of any world culture, totally devoid of understanding what happened to us in the Holocaust, totally devoid of understanding what Israel is really about. And it isn't the sanctimonious state that people think it is, because I was there in the 1980s when they created Hamas. I was there when the generals were terrorizing Palestinians and the Intifada was created. But let me quote to you my rabbi, and it turns out to be a family member, Soloveitchik, who said, in order to be a good Jew or a good human, you have to follow the righteous way and avoid evil. Thank you and good night.
So right now I'm watching Steve Pieczenik wrap up his soliloquy here, which I think is actually a fairly important one. And I think it's really important. I think it's a really important speech that and I think he's giving us probably maybe 80 to 85% of the information, which is maybe 90% spot on. Spot on. And I'll tell you why I think this video is important. In as much as it's giving us kind of an insight, and this guy would know, he's been rolling around with these characters since Nixon. Okay, that's how long Steve Pieczenik has been around, and so he would know. He would have some insight into this, and I don't always agree with but the guys, trust me, he's having conversations and he's having meetings and connections with people that I certainly wouldn't have, right? But the thing that I think is interesting about Pechenik is the fact that he's Jewish, and he's talking about something that I think strikes to the heart of the Jewish community, which is the fact that you have people like Epstein and Dershowitz and Weinstein, and there are people these are people who are bringing down your faith. These are people that are bringing down your culture, and they're connected to a nation state that, according to Steve Pechenik here, is involved in a high crime operation. And what he is basically saying is that you need to become aware of your culture. You need to really open your eyes and see what's going on here. And for that, I salute Steve Pechenik, because I think everybody does. I don't think anybody gets a free pass. I don't think anybody gets a free pass, whether you're Jewish or Catholic or Christian or Muslim or so-called black or whatever. Nobody gets a free pass, because you have these people that are at the top of these very powerful hierarchical structures who have grabbed power and are manipulating people at a very high level, and people don't quite understand it to the degree. If you're a Catholic, you should really pay attention to what's going on with the Vatican and what's going on with the Pope and what's going on with the rampant pedophilia inside that church. If you're a Muslim, you should really pay attention to what's going on inside of your faith, and the beheadings and all the the high level 15th century despotic feudalism. If you're a Christian, you should try to wrap your head around the Schofield Bible and how it's really abducted and stolen the Bible and given you kind of a false prophecy. Everybody should have a good look at their belief systems and understand that there is high-level manipulation going on. If we're going to have any chance of getting through and having some semblance of coherence, we're gonna have to take those belief systems down, or at least the parts of them that are diseased. Okay, that's my take on that. If you're outside of that, like I've looked at the role of so-called white men in history, and sometimes people are right, sometimes it's kind of despicable. I watched that movie, The Minds of Men, that Aaron Melissa put together, and I got to tell you, the people, the engineers, the social engineers, for the most part, they're all white, right? And it's like that. I'm looking at it, go, I can see why people would think that. You look at the military-industrial complex. You listen to Kay Griggs talk about her husband and the generals and what they're. It's like again, there's like levels of betrayal that everybody has to look at and deal with and say this doesn't work. And if we're going to have any shot at really having a coherent community on this planet, it's going to have to happen. And there are people who are very resistant. And I've done it. I've looked into my culture. I've looked into my government. I've looked into my so-called religion and faith. And I try to really stay on top of it and not allow it to get a hold of me and see it for what it is. The trick is to not fall into despair. That's the big trick. Because when you go into those places, you say, "Oh man, we've been lied with, fucked with, blah 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 blah, whatever that thing is, right?" And so what happens is we have to continue to buttress our own faith, which comes from within ourselves, and hopefully we can, be a, how do we say, it's a link in the chain with everybody else. We can be stronger as a result of that. So I think Steve's message is a good one. I think it's a really, really good one, and we have to open our eyes. And sometimes opening our eyes is painful, but that's just the way it is. Speaking of eyes opened, we got about 9 minutes left here. By the way, I think that Steve Pechenik's videos, the thing that cracks me up about those videos is that I think that's his wife. She always comes in and starts the video and stops the video. And I'm like, does Steve Pachinik not have any arms? He may not be able to have use of his arms. And I'm serious about that, because that woman comes in and starts and stops the video every single time. It's a very weird thing. And I joked about it. I was joking about it with Emily. But he may not have use of his arms, which is why you never see his arms. You don't see him genuflect and do gesticulate. He's no Beto O'Rourke. Speaking of Beto O'Rourke, I did want to talk about this. Beto O'Rourke has now come out and said that both his family and his wife's family own slaves. You know why? Because they're digging shit up on him. That's why. They're digging stuff up on Beto O'Rourke. You know they are. And so he got ahead of the narrative. He got ahead of the conversation. So he's smart in that way. But he's toast. Beto O'Rourke's toast. All the white guys on the ticket, they're toast. They're going to start to drop like flies. Biden's going to go. Swalwell's already bowed out. I guarantee you the only white guy that's going to be left is going to be Pete Buttigieg, the gay white guy. Then we'll have, Castro and Booker and the girls, the ladies. They'll be in there. They're not going to be, maybe Bernie, I don't know. Gosh darn. They're going to take down the white guy as part of this process. If you're a white guy and you're running for president of the United States on the Democratic side, God bless you. God bless you and good luck. Because you're about to get charred and feathered. And even if you apologize, mea culpa, mea culpa, mea culpa, mea culpa, mea culpa, it's not going to help. It is not going to help. Beto's now, oh, well, yeah, yes, I have to say that we are slaves. Okay. Done. He's done. He's toast. What else was I going to talk about real quick? What else? Anything else? Oh, Ani brought up a really good point in the chat, which I talked about yesterday. I was just having a conversation. And it's the girls who are procuring the other girls for Epstein and going off to the island. Ani brought up a really good point about the parents. Parents are complicit. Parents are complicit. Maybe not every parent, but I bet you there are some parents that were very complicit. And why are they complicit? Because they were getting favors. And maybe they were part of the inner circle. Maybe they were part of the cult. I'll tell you a movie everybody should watch. It is the Devil's, what is it? The Devil's Advocate. The Devil's Advocate with Keanu Reeves, right? Let me just make sure. I don't want to screw up here. So sometimes I screw up when it comes to names. Let me just see. Let me just do this. It's The Devil's Advocate. Everybody should watch that movie. It gives you an insight as to how the game works. There's a lot of show and tell in that movie. Watch The Devil's Advocate. Because it shows you at a high level how people are linked and what's going on behind the scenes. I think it's actually a pretty important movie. And by the way, and I've said this before, I'm pretty sure that his character, who goes by the name of Kevin, is a cipher, an aggregate of Bill and Hillary Clinton. So keep that in mind when you watch it. Okay, that's my sense, because there is this key scene in the beginning of the movie where he gets off a child molester, which is what Hillary did. Hillary did that when she was a lawyer. And his character comes from the South, raised by a single mom. So I think it's a Bill Hillary cipher. Watch the movie. It's a show and tell. And that gets back to the inner circle of the girls and the parents and the connections. And I think, Ani, you pointed out something totally legit, which is what was going on with the parents. The parents were in on it, for the most part. That's my sense. That's my sense. Because they were getting something out of the deal. All right, let me check in with you guys before I get out of here today. I got about 4 minutes left. You started my neighbor's dog out of a sound sleep. Who, me? I hope not. These guys are melting like the Wicked Witch of the West. Pacino and Keanu. Let's see. Beto wants to continue that family tradition. Hey Max, what's going on? Parents now promote transgenderism. You know, that's a tough place, man. That's a tough place. But I would agree that the kids are 5 or 6. Their parents should have visits from CPS. So Kushner is against Bernie and Mossad. Did I misunderstand? Yeah, that's the one part, Phoebe, that that's the math that I can't do on the Pachinik stuff. I can't do the math because, Kushner is part of Chabad. And you notice that Steve Pachinik doesn't mention Chabad anywhere in there. And Chabad is very, very powerful inside of the Jewish community, and that's kind of a major network, and Netanyahu's connected to it. So, yeah, I didn't quite. That's the math I can't do in the Pachinik stuff. Again, I think some show and tell. I think he's showing a lot, but not telling everything. Okay, I'm out of here. Okay, here we go. Use your head to discern what's real, your heart to say what's possible. I'm Robert Phoenix. I'll be back tomorrow. Everybody have a great eclipse. I hope you don't have as dramatic of a situation as I had yesterday. Okay. Take good care, and bye for now. And I've got the shirts. I think they're done. So you're going to be getting a shirt. If you ordered a shirt, you're going to be getting a shirt in the next probably 5 to 7 days. Okay. I'm out of here. Talk to you later. Bye.